Dynamite. I gotta say it like that because I don't. This is not gonna be a long video. I'm not gonna rant very long. Now, I want to make this clear, the things that were good. Continental Classic matches were fine. Okada's match was alright. Mox's match wasn't too bad. I will just be more specific. Darby Allin's match was okay, including Orange Cassidy with Claudio. They were all fine matches. And we got the people won, which I'll talk about in a minute in my thoughts about it. But taking away from that, and the in-ring and backstage segments were alright. I do not understand, what are we getting here? I've heard Alex. And let me make this clear. I'm not jumping down Alex's throat. If Alex saw this, dude, I've watched you for years. I love you. I respect you. You got great opinions. But I do not agree with Alex on what he thought about Full Gear. Full Gear did not show a turn for the better. It just did not. It just made things seem to not change. Unlike JD, and I'm not even against JD, I like him too. But wait, JD and Jesse have seen things compared to Alex, or maybe Solomon, so he also has somewhere in between, whereas Alex and JD and Jesse. Guys, when you look at Full Gear, then you look at Blood and Guts, and you look at this show and the announcements that have been made, nothing has majorly changed. Nothing. Have we gotten some progression, some storylines? Yes. But the most important things have not changed. And I do not understand where I've heard people, and I've seen a couple of comments other than the ones I just mentioned, where people are saying this is getting great. I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm a guy who does love AEW. I'm still doing reviews of AEW. I stopped doing reviews of SmackDown and Raw because it became heavily advertiser friendly. And a lot of their work there, they left the same people in the same spots for so long. If anything happens, if they get hurt, or if they want to go and do something else, they literally do not have anyone prepared to take their place. That's the truth. I warned people more than a year ago, what is going to happen to the Bloodline? What is going to happen to the Judgment Day? What is going to happen to them when they run their course? There's nothing built correctly to take that spot. So now you look at Raw, it doesn't look right. When you look at SmackDown, it looks terrible. Now when you look at AEW, they have been giving us good matches, no better than WWE. But the stories have been chaotic, not in a good way. They have not been done correctly. Either they're extremely short, or they're so completely dragged out to the point where it's nothing. So let me describe it. I'll explain. Gold match. I believe it's the first match is a gold match. Okada versus Kyle Fletcher. This is where you see Okada doesn't like a Kateska at all because he was respectful to Kyle Fletcher. He showed total respect to him even though he tried to screw him over no better than Kyle tried to screw over Okada. They did a good match. In the end, Okada did not get the win here. It was Kyle who got the 3 points. They didn't draw to get 1 point each. It was just a straight out win for Kyle. Second time he's beaten Okada in the tournament, if I understand correctly, if I'm remembering correctly, that he beat Okada the last time in the tournament. Here, he wins again. And they shake hands, and that's it. But you can see that Okada does not like Kateska at all. He will always hate him, and this will eventually lead to their feud, where either Kateska is going to leave I just don't see Okada leaving Don Callis' family. I think Kateska will leave it and probably will join Kenny Omega. Now, I'll talk about Kenny quickly right now. What did I think about him talking? It was alright. He basically said, and not quoting him, but basically, I was not a good guy before I left and had my surgery. I was a bad guy. Let's make it clear. I was a bitch. That's what I'm thinking. But I learned I messed up, I learned, and I got into a perspective that I understand that you can get a second chance. And when he was asked again, what do you think about the Bucks? He says simply, look at me. As I said, I had to reflect on myself, the way I acted, and I have to reflect on what the Bucks did. But I thought now, at this point, if I can come back and people could love and respect me because I went through my arc, in a sense. I messed up. I acted like a bitch. But now I see them. If I can come back from this, they deserve a second chance too. And then we get the Bucks coming out of his locker room. And they say, "How you doing?" I can't remember the woman's name. I keep forgetting her name. I don't know why I keep forgetting her name. You know, you're going to tell me. I just keep forgetting her name. Since I think it's due to the fact she works on ROH so much. But let me give you like this. Is this something we weren't expecting? No. It's exactly what we knew we were going to have. We knew that sooner or later the Bucks were going to eventually start working with Kenny again and eventually start trying to bring back the Elite. It's going to happen. How they're going to bring back the Elite is going to be the big question. They can't just throw them into the Elite and maybe add in Luchasaurus and Jack Perry into it. I don't think they're going to go there. I just don't. But that is a possibility. Kind of like what happened with the Four Horsemen, the different iterations of it. They always brought in new people to the Horsemen, which they could bring new people into the Elite, which could easily be a Luchasaurus and a a Jack Perry. That's what I think could happen. Next, the next match, which was sloppy. This is part of the women's tournament. It is not where we're going to get the stipulation. We were told about the stipulation later, and I'll tell you about that when it came to Tony Storm. But we got the Sisters of Sin versus the Babes of Wrath. And it didn't look good. That was sloppy. I'm sorry. Look, I like Harley. I actually like Harley Cameron. She is charismatic. She is. Take away from her chest. Take away from her boobs. Let's put this in perspective. If you look at Harley Cameron, if she was a small-chested woman, she has charisma. She can do ventriloquism. I can't pronounce ventriloquism. I always mess up when throwing your voice. I always mess up how to pronounce it. But also, she can be a manager and somewhat wrestle. This is one of those times she looked really bad wrestling. I'm sorry. When you looked at her compared to Sky Blue, Julia Hart, and Willow, she's over. There's no lie about that. You can be over and not wrestle very well. That's the truth. There are multiple wrestlers who were over that were not great wrestlers. Jey Uso is one of them. He's a good tag team wrestler, but as a singles competitor, he's not great when it's just one-on-one. He's not a great singles wrestler. He is a good character. He gets people over. He gets himself over with his character more than his in-ring skill. There's no shame in it. Jimmy's a better wrestler than Jey, and I've never denied that. I just said the one who's more charismatic was Jey, the way he does his stuff, compared to Jimmy, who's always been more of a, Jimmy's always been more of a joker compared to Jey, who's more serious. And it doesn't mean that Jimmy isn't charismatic either. He is. He's just different. When you see Harley Cameron, she's very charismatic. She gets over, and the big tits don't hurt either. People love them. There's no lie about them. They love those things like that. They love them, but when you look at her performance in the ring, compared to Julia, Sky Blue, and Willow, she just was lacking, and it showed. It was at certain points like her and Willow didn't really have any type of chemistry almost. They got the moves all right at certain points, and then it began to fall apart halfway into the second half of the match. And by the time that they won, and they did win, I felt, why am I rooting for Willow Nightingale with Harley Cameron when Harley, as charismatic as she is, and she's liked, and she's sexy, no better than Willow. Willow's a beautiful woman. Why would I care about them knowing full well that most of that match looked really sloppy? And not even saying it was all Willow. Willow didn't make a few botches, and that Sky Blue didn't make a few botches. Or definitely when it came to Julia Hart, who was supposed to do a moonsault, but she decided as she was going down, she forgot, wait a minute, am I supposed to just do a moonsault or I'm going to land on my feet? She landed on her feet, realized she screwed up, and tried to make it look like she elbowed when she didn't. And that was trying to be covered by, who was it? Not Tony Schiavone. It was Niles McGuinness and Excalibur who tried to cover for it. It looked terrible. So I'm not saying that she's the only one who botched in this match, but she botched the most. Moving on. Now, Blue League, Moxley versus Marciano Dorado. I believe. Dorado or Dorada. Let's make this clear. Did you really thought Moxley was going to job here? No. There was no way he was going to job, and he did a reversed chokehold, or reverse sleeper, if you want to say that. And he managed to win the match. I'm going to tell you this. Moxley has overstayed his welcome. I don't hate Jon Moxley. But you guys tell me below. How long has Moxley been on TV since he came back from rehab? Think about it for a minute. He didn't take no time off at all. None. He's taken no time off since he came back from rehab, went and became champ, lost the title, then he did the Death Rider thing with everyone, and since then up to now. How long has it been? At least a year. Easily a year now. It's been over a year, or at least a year, since he's done this, and when you would think it's time for him to go, they're not doing it. Either he made it clear he doesn't want to go yet, Tony made it clear he doesn't want him to go yet. The fans already know he should have already disappeared for a while, or the Death Riders at this point should clearly be frustrated with him. And I see none of it. Not one of the Death Riders, not Marina Shafir, not Pac, not Daniel Garcia, not Wheeler Yuta or Claudio look frustrated. Ugh! And they should. They should already, and they haven't. And I don't get it. But this isn't about that. This is about Miss Toni Storm. Miss Timeless One decides to get into the ring, walking down the aisle, going into the ring, saying, Johnny, 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 and started messing with him. And he's out of breath, trying to keep Marina Shafir from doing anything. He's begging her, don't do anything, I'm out of breath. And he's not selling it very well. But seeing Toni Storm interact with a man was cool. I didn't mind it. And it was supposed to set up for her and his freaky little sister, Marina Shafir, making it very clear that we are going to get revenge. He did. Moxley didn't say anything. But when it came to Toni Storm talking about her wife, that came out looking great, showing some cleavage. Who doesn't like the cleavage of Marina Shirakawa? I do. She wouldn't want someone like me. I'm an old man. I would be shocked if a woman like that, I think she's in the early to mid-30s, would not want someone who's already in his nearing mid-50s now. But when you see her and hearing Toni Storm say, because of what you did to her, and also, I forgot to get you a Christmas present. You're getting Christmas early. No DQ, hardcore death match next week. This is where you see the title and when you see this. Guys, what the fuck? 2 weeks ago, we had Blood and Guts, men and women. A week ago, less than a week ago, we had Full Gear where there was heavy violence in it. And not only one match showed blood. I believe it was 4 or 5 matches that showed blood. I know that at one point, what is it? Who was the one that was bleeding? That wasn't in a match that was meant to have blood, and that was Josh Alexander in his match. He just started bleeding out of nowhere. He cracked his head, and then he started bleeding. 4 to 5 matches had blood. Not 1. 4 or 5 matches, again, had blood. Had aspects of hardcore in it. We are now getting hardcore matches for the last near 3 weeks. Next week, we're supposed to have a no DQ hardcore death match between, and you don't need to tag in out, Marina Shikawa, Toni Storm, Megan Bayne, and Marina Shafir. That's next week. What the fuck are we doing here? This is wrong. I'm not saying the women should not have a hardcore death match. But here's the problem. We just had Blood and Guts. We had Full Gear that had blood, along with Blood and Guts. And now, next week, we're going to get something similar to it again. Instead of spreading it out over months, we're getting it within a few weeks. I have no idea what JD's thinking. I don't know what Jesse thought. I don't know what Alex thought. This is wrong. I don't want to have constant blood hardcore matches. I want to make sure that you spread it out. Make it This is supposed to be an important match for the tag titles for the women. But now they're making it a hardcore death match because they don't believe the women. And I want to make it clear, I'm not against the women. This is about making these women feel relevant as the first team to win the tag titles they just newly minted. Whoever is going to win it is going to be someone that's going to be important to the company. And now, instead of making them feel important by making the story of the tournament itself give it to you. In other words, you get to hear them. You get to see them in the ring. You get to hear them outside the ring. No, we barely got anything of them outside the ring. Maybe one interview. Maybe. For at least maybe 2 teams. Say about 2, if we're lucky, 3. The rest have had almost no build. And now you're going to give them a hardcore death match. Because, what? For the hell of it? That shouldn't be happening. Like at Full Gear, they should have never had that tornado tag. They should have never had it. They should have never had a tag match where whoever won it would get this stipulation. It's wrong. Now, gold match. Darby Allin versus Kevin Knight. It was a good match. I'm surprised that Allin doesn't take a break. I know he just came back, but you got to make him mean something. It doesn't mean he can't wrestle. It just... The problem here is this. He's been going up against the Death Riders. Went away, came back. He beat Moxley. Moxley beat him. Wouldn't it make some sense to make him go away for a couple of weeks? Do some vignettes of what he's going to do to Moxley. Or try to get to Moxley again. Because he's already been put through a table at Full Gear that was flaming. And he has the 2nd degree burns to prove it. And instead of making him mean something, he didn't need to be in the Continental Classic at all. He didn't. All he needed was to go away for a couple of weeks, do some vignettes to try and give us some reason for him to be progressing forward against Moxley or to do something else. He's just thrown into the tournament. That means he's not worth anything. He lost. Kevin Knight goes forward, which is fine. Seeing a coast-to-coast from Kevin Knight on to Darby made me think of Shane McMahon. The only thing, there was no trash can. It was fine. But the key here is, what's going to happen to Darby Allin? He feels like he just went from here. He's here. He hasn't gone down here yet. He's here. What are we doing with him? Final match. We get Claudio versus Orange Cassidy. Now, he was replaced. Kyle O'Reilly. Was it Kyle O'Reilly? Kyle O'Reilly was taken out, and Orange wanted to get revenge because of what happened to Kyle because of Moxley. Fine match. I wasn't sure who was going to win, but it was Claudio. Claudio won. Orange was on the floor of the mat. You see, who was the one who did the interview? Renee. She gets in the ring. And when she does get into the ring, guess what happened? Wheeler Yuta goes up into Orange's face. He gets mad. Then there's a fight. And it's not with just a conglomeration. You got everyone coming out because this is supposed to be for the Continental Classic. Anyone who's part of the Continental Classic, except for Okada, jumped into that ring and started fighting. What do I feel about this? I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad tournament, but I don't feel anything because why did they show the tournament title? Isn't the title supposed to be unified? Whoever wins gets a unified title, not the Continental Classic title. Why did they produce the first match? They didn't leave the unified title there because Okada still had it around his waist. It made no sense for him as the unified champion to be having the unified title around his waist when it should be in the place of the Continental title. Why is he still holding the unified title around his waist when the Continental title, you saw it, I believe I'll throw it in my face because this video is split in half, my battery died. You will see it. It was on the table. It was on the table. Why? Stupid. The tournament's not the problem. You showing the Continental title that should not exist was dumb. Now, what did I think about FTR's video? It was okay. They're 3-time champs. I'm not surprised. And we should be building up to a Bucks versus FTR match again. Do I want to see it? I don't know. It depends on how they're going to book it. I don't know how they're going to book it. But it depends on how they're going to book it. How they're going to make FTR, when they reach that point, mean something with the Bucks. And it also counts on how they're going to build the Bucks as good guys again. They got to build them correctly, or this is not going to work. Next, the thing that made no sense. Eddie Kingston. Why? Isn't he in the Continental Classic? Doesn't he have the history of that? Because he was one of the first to win it? Isn't he the one who won the Continental Classic? And he won all those belts? Why is he not in the tournament? Then you put him up against Shibata because he wants to start messing with the Death Riders. I believe it was Shibata. I don't understand. Everyone loves Eddie Kingston. They do. The story between Eddie now and Hook, that should be built on, but they're not going there with Hook and Eddie. They're not. It should be because of the ops. And I understand why they're doing it with Shibata. I think I might have gotten a little confused here. I want to see him part of the Continental Classic. I don't see Shibata. I think I said Shibata was part of Death Riders. I'm sorry. But the key here is this. Do I want to see Hook go up against Eddie Kingston? Yes. Does it make sense to see Shibata go up against Eddie Kingston? You would say yes, but no. He should be dealing only with Hook directly. And if Shibata nails him, again, then do that. But here at this point, I'm not feeling anything between Hook and Eddie. I want to see Eddie get into the Continental Classic. I want to see Eddie try and get that title that he once held a long time ago, and then have Hook screw with him again. Because he was offered the opportunity to get in the Continental Classic, but he wouldn't be able to get away from Hook. That would have made a better story than just putting Eddie with Shibata. That would lead him going into maybe Will Hobbs, and then go after a Hook, which will not lead to Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe is not going to be the focus. It won't be. Eddie will not be going after Samoa Joe. What we had in the celebration, we got a little bit of talk from Samoa Joe with his plan, which wasn't a plan. You got Swerve coming out. You got Paige coming out, whooping everyone's ass that they could get, strangling guys with chains, hanging them over the edge of the ring, and those were the Ops Dojo guys. Do you actually think Eddie Kingston is going to get a shot at the champion? No. It will either be Hangman Page or Swerve Strickland that they're going to be taking on the Ops. So seeing this from Eddie made no sense. Him saying, I'm going to go after you, Shibata, made no sense. I would like, as I said, put him into the Continental Classic, then have Hook screw with him, and then let Hook and him feud. That would have been a better system. It's angering me. That's why I'm getting confused. It angers me. Finally, the last thing to talk about. Mark Briscoe winning the TNT title. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Look, you know how I felt about Mark. I really did like Mark, and I still do like Mark. And I believe they had a chance with Mark over a year ago to become champion. Now, everyone would say, dude, they're only doing it because he lost his brother Jay. Yeah. And it would have worked. People wouldn't just feel sympathy for him. They would root him on, cheer for him. And that would be a good thing. Turn a negative into a positive. No one wants to see someone use the death of a relative to get over and to become a champion. But due to the fact that Mark had a lot of bills to pay for his nieces, remember, his brother's Jay's kids were in the, Ford F-150 with him. The woman who hit them was an F-250. And they were badly hurt. They survived it, but they were badly hurt. And he needed money. Getting to be TNT champion would have probably given him a bigger pay raise. And I would have been fine with that. That's what I was hoping for. Yeah, his nieces recovered well, and they're fine. But why not give him that moment? Why not give it to him? Here, it's still a good, feel-good moment, but it does feel like it's a little bit later than it should be. He could have had that 6 months ago. I say a year and a couple of months ago. He could have gotten that 6 months ago. No. Could have got it 3 months ago. No. You get it now. And even though it feels good, I do feel like it's a bit late. Does it mean he won't make it work? He'll make it work. But it feels like he deserved a better time with this title. It should have been earlier than this. But it's just me. I hope you enjoyed this Dynamite review. Please give me a comment below. I have 3. Tomorrow you'll be seeing one of the Gump goodnesses I already filmed a couple of days ago. After this, I'm going to film at least 1 or 2 more. And every few days, I'm going to be releasing a Gump goodness to give you something to look at. I hope you'll enjoy them. I hope I did them right. Peace.